even if you end up not staying together, it just means that that person they're not willing
Yeah.
to, they don't need to grow. Like he didn't need to grow with me.
Yeah.
He just need to accept that this is who I
Love it.
am
Right.
and that I'm becoming. I have this saying that I love to say. It's like, I was who I was so I could become who I am. I am who I am so I can become who I'm becoming.
Welcome to the That's Where I'm At podcast. I'm Laura, happily divorced after spending years with a narcissist. I believe keeping secrets will make you sick and that they always come to light in the end. As women, we're often told to be quiet, don't share your story, don't talk about the things we go through. It's making women sick, sad, and suicidal. We don't have to be on the other side to share our story. This show is for the women still in the middle of the mess, but showing up bravely as they heal. It's time to share these stories with each other so we can learn, grow, and heal together. I'm Laura, and that's where I'm at. Hey, it's Laura. If while you're listening today, something hits a little too close to home, if you find yourself thinking, how does she know exactly what I've been through? It's because I've lived it too. I want to remind you that I offer one-on-one coaching for women who are ready to stop questioning their worth, heal from the mind games, and start reclaiming a life they actually want to wake up to. Check the link in the show notes to book a call today. Now here's the episode. Please take note that this episode may contain subjects that may be triggering to certain listeners. Please take care when listening today. So today I have the honor of interviewing Lynda Sunshine West, and she's going to tell us about how she got the name Sunshine. And it's such a great interview because when Lynda was 5, she ran away from home, and she talks about how that story, how that affected all of her life and what she's doing now to help women tell their story. And I think actually men as well. It's possible men as well, but I've worked with Lynda on her helping me tell my story. And she just talks about how she overcame one fear a day for a year and why she decided to do that and how her running away story, how all of that really affected her entire life, what she's doing now. And listen, she's such an inspirational speaker. You guys are going to love her entire story. I didn't have to drag anything out of her. She has such amazing stories to tell. And she's an inspiration to how, if you want life to be different, to be better, how you can do that starting today. So I hope you'll enjoy her story. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today I have Lynda Sunshine West. Thank you so much for being here, Lynda. I'm so excited. Now, Lynda, is Sunshine your real name, or is that?
Yeah, great place to start, right? Just with that. Yeah, it is not it's my real name now, but it wasn't my given name. You know, it's interesting because in 2015, like we'll talk more about this a little bit later.
Yeah.
But in 2015, I decided to break through one fear every single day for a year. And it was during that year, about maybe 3 months into it, that randomly people started calling me Sunshine.
Oh my
People
gosh.
didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
And so I looked at that and I said, I must be Sunshine. I don't believe it, but they see it in me. And so I'm going to adopt it. So maybe I'll believe it myself. And that's exactly what happened. And so the point on that is that we adopt other people's beliefs in in us, but normally it's negative beliefs that we adopt.
Right.
And so when people say something nice about us or complimentary, we kind of poo-poo it. Yeah. And we say, no, not me. That's not true, or what have you. And so this was kind of like one of my exercises that I started doing is to see what others were seeing in me and adopt it to be my truth instead of all the negativity, because my life was filled with negativity. So it is not my given name, but it is my name that I have adopted to be my name. Yes.
I love it. So yes. And I want to start from the beginning because I know your story, and I like the story because of what you've overcome. So take us back to when you were 5 and you decided to run away from home, which is tragic. Yeah. I don't like it, but tell us about it.
It's funny because, like you say, it's tragic, which it was, of course. But I've told it so many times that I don't feel the tragedy anymore, which is good, awesome. Right? Because that's part of healing. And that's Like when people share their stories and they share them kind of like matter of factly, it's no big deal. It's not that it was never a big deal. It's that maybe they've actually healed through it. And that's where I am today.
That's awesome.
So at 5 years old, I decided I didn't like where I was living. How many of us decide that, And then I ran away. Well, I was gone for an entire week. And it's interesting because as I started kind of like looking back at my life, I hired a life coach when I was 51, and she's the one who helped me like come to all these realizations. But when I was working with her, I had this realization that at 5 years old, gone a week, nobody came to get me.
Yeah.
And so established at that time was this belief that they didn't come to get me because they don't love me and they don't want me around.
Right.
And so why didn't my mom come to get me? Why didn't my siblings? I'm one of 5 kids. Why didn't anybody come to get me? Why didn't my dad come to get me? And so what I kind of surmised later, my mom was already passed away, so I couldn't ask her.
Oh, okay.
But I believe how it was like this. Okay. So I'm going to tell the story that I believe happened.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm 5 years old. My dad was a very volatile, abusive alcoholic. And so I decided to run away. Well, I decided to go to the neighbor's house and hang out is where I was.
Right.
And one day turned to 2, turned to 3, right? It turned into 7 days. Well, the whole time my mom is in communication with a neighbor, but I don't know that.
Right.
So as a 5-year-old, I'm creating my own story of what happened.
Yeah.
And that story of they don't love me, don't want me around, turned into me always looking for them not loving me and not wanting me around.
Yeah.
So when they would tease me, they don't love me. They don't see, this was like my pattern for decades.
Yeah.
Until I finally figured it out around age 51 or so. And it's interesting because, running away like that, one of the things I love to really stress for parents is your kids know what's going on. Like I knew what was going on, and that's why I didn't want to be there.
Right.
And so I just took action, and maybe it was a drastic action, and my mom's reaction, and it played into me being gone a week instead of her saying, you know what, you've been gone an hour, maybe you should come home now. No, especially it was 7 days.
Yeah. Especially a 5-year-old. I mean, it's different when you're a teenager. I ran away for the day when I was a teenager,
Right.
but I felt the same way when I'm thinking back. I felt the same way. I'm like, I just want to go away. I felt like I needed to almost send a message, but I was 15. That was different. But this is the thing that I learned too, is when my mom found out where I was at a friend's house. And I don't even remember if I just decided to go home or if they told me to come home or what. I don't even remember. But we never talked about it. They kind of tucked me into bed to show me they loved me and wanted to take care of me. But we didn't talk about it. They didn't ask me like, what happened or why did you leave or what's going on? Yeah. I think they probably didn't know how to cope. But it's so interesting to me that they were, your mom or your parents maybe were talking to the neighbor. And of course, if you were a teenager, maybe you would have been listening to the phone call to see if you could figure out what was going on. But as a 5-year-old, I can't imagine you weren't doing that. You just were like,
it's playing Barbies. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah. And it was probably in a way, even though you felt like, why isn't anybody come to get me? You also had a little bit of peace and a little bit of calm, but I can imagine it's still turmoil. And I've heard Brene Brown saying like, don't go looking for places where you don't belong because you will always find them. When people are saying, like, oh, that friend group did something without me, or I don't feel like I have any friends, or I don't feel like anybody likes me. It's like, if you go looking for that, you're going to find that. You're going to find places that you do not belong, but you have to make room for the places you do belong. But they never said anything to you when you came home or when they came and got you, right?
I don't remember if they came and got me.
Okay.
My mom explained later and in a laughing way, which was when I was probably like 45 or something.
Wow.
Something about, when you ran away and you were gone for a week, finally I decided to call the neighbor and said, Lynda's been gone long enough. You can send her home now. Like, that's how I came home. And that was it. Like I say, like I came home with my head bent down because I literally walked around like this. I didn't look people in the eyes for decades.
Yeah.
I had so much fear. And I had the fear like was riddled within me that's why I decided to break through a fear every single day for a year at age 51. Because I had so many fears that were stopping me from really living my life. And, here's what I found fascinating about this. Like, as I love to like retrospectively look back at what I've gone through and this stuff. So as I started kind of thinking about how I let so many fears stop me from living my life, but then I look at my life and I say, I've done a lot of things. And so it's kind of like this counter. And what's interesting about what I came to the realization of is that there are things that we do that are in spite of fear.
Okay.
And then there are things that we do because we know we have to do them.
Yeah.
And we're not going to let our fear, stop us and stuff. And so again, as I look back on my life, I say, I had all these fears. So how did I do all these things? Right. I had 49 jobs in 36 years. Okay. So anybody who has 49 jobs in 36 years has had at least 49 interviews like that I nailed.
Right.
Right. So many people are scared to interview, but I did that. And so now I was like, well, why did I do that? Well, because I didn't like where I was. And so I wanted to do what I did at 5. I want to run away from that place and find someplace better. This became a pattern for me, like always running away from something. But then I'm like looking at it like, no. I didn't run away from anything. I was looking for something better.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That makes so much sense. That really does. Oh, that's a great way to look at it too. So how did running away affect like the rest of your life? Maybe even getting into being a teenager, like how did that affect you?
It did. First of all, I had some friends, like their house was the Kool-Aid house, like everybody went and hung out and because it was a fun place to be. I had those friends. I was not that friend.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want anybody to come to my house. I didn't even introduce my mom to my high school boyfriend for like a year.
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't want my parents, like I was in band. I played flute from 2nd grade, all the way through 12th grade. And in all those performances that I participated in, I didn't want my parents there.
Yeah. And
when they were there, I never talked to them. I didn't introduce them to anybody. Like it really affected the way I lived my life with my family. I don't know if I was embarrassed of my family or what, but there was something there that was an extremely negative, feeling of them, my whole family. Yeah. Like my sisters used to tease me all the time. You have a ski slope nose. I'm like, my nose isn't ski slope. Like, what ski slope?
Nope.
But they would make fun of me. And like I was teased to the point of like, back in the days, we used to have something called a milkman.
Yep.
Drive a truck around. For those who don't know, that are a little bit younger, this person would drive around this truck and they would actually deliver milk to your house.
Yeah.
And my family used to make fun of it because I didn't look like the rest of my family.
Oh, yeah.
And so they'd say, you're the milkman's daughter. Like they would make fun of me in so many different ways. And it affected me.
Right.
Wanting to be around them. And so it affected me a lot in those sorts of ways. But it also made me tougher. Like I had a tougher exterior.
Right.
Because of it. The interior was still tender, but the exterior was tough. And
it's sad that we have to do that because I totally, you're protecting yourself. And it's a shame because it's like, it'd be nice to grow up in a soft world. And even thinking back, I do the same thing. I'm very retrospective. I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? Of course, we have to remember we didn't have a full brain and all the things that we did. But I do think back because I know that the choices I made affected my life and how I was feeling, what I thought about my self-worth and my value. And I wonder too, like, I just have been in toxic situations where you say, like, I don't want to introduce them to whatever, say your family, because they're going to ruin it. They're going to ruin this fun thing I have, this great boyfriend or this fun time I'm having playing in the band. I don't know if that's what happened, but that's what came to mind when you were talking about that. How did this did it affect your relationships and the choices you made there?
Big time. Oh my gosh. They say, I heard this saying later, you marry somebody like your father.
Yeah.
But then later I heard this saying, your first marriage is to somebody like your father. Your second marriage is to somebody like your mother. And I'm like, oh God, I dipped on both ends, Oh
no.
So my first marriage was to somebody just like my dad. He was very volatile. He was abusive. He was narcissistic. He would say things to me and I believed him. So this is like that belief, right? I believed that I was stupid.
Yeah.
Because he told me this every single day.
Right.
I believed that I was ignorant. I believed that nobody liked me and that people were only nice to me because they felt sorry for me. These are the things that he hammered into me.
Right.
And I carried that negative, I dragged it along, year after year after year, even into my current marriage, which I've been happily married now for 37 years. I found my mother. He's not like my mother, but he's more like my mother than my father. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because I carried that into this marriage, all that baggage that we have, we carry into each relationship. And so how was I able to chip through that? It wasn't until 51, when I hired that life coach.
Wow.
She helped me to see who I really am and to show up in that way. And after working with my life coach and then breaking through those fears, about a year later, my husband came to me and said, I don't like who you're becoming.
Oh my gosh. You're like, it's working.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's because again, I've been happily married for 37 years.
Yeah.
We have had our ups and downs. And this was one of them where he's like, I don't know. I don't like who you're becoming. You're not the person I married.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? The person you married was weak, didn't understand who she was, didn't show up as confident. And so if you don't want to be with me because of who I'm becoming, then we can't be together anymore.
Right.
Because I am not going to shrink back to what I was. And he looked at that and he said, okay, well, let me figure this out for me. Because he had to figure it out for him.
Of course.
And here we are still together 10 years after all of that,
That's amazing. Well, I want to talk about that because that's where I think I've talked about this so many times with like coaches and stuff. That's where people get stuck. When you're doing the work and you start to change and the people around you start to balk at it and like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work for my life. And I love that he was like, well, let me think about it. Because I'm sure he felt like, well, does that mean she's going to get rid of me? Or are things going to change? Is nothing going to be the same? Will I even recognize her? I'm sure a million thoughts ran through his head. And this is where the coaches I've talked to, therapists I talked to, this is where people give up. This is what really trips people up when they're doing the hard work. Is you're doing this work, you feel good, but everyone around you saying like, no, you don't do that. Like, that's not who we like. We like the old person who didn't have boundaries and it was a timid, scared little mouse. Look, listen, everybody, push through, push through because
definitely.
That's where the good stuff is.
Yeah, because even if you end up not staying together, it just means that person they're not willing to, they don't need to grow. Like he didn't need to grow with me.
Yeah.
He just need to accept that this is who I am.
Right.
And that I'm becoming. I have this saying that I love to say. It's like, I was who I was so I could become who I am.
Oh, wow.
I am who I am so I can become who I'm becoming. Because
my gosh,
isn't that amazing? Like really think about it. I needed all that crap in my life.
Yes.
I needed all those challenges. I needed all those negative beliefs of myself that I adopted of others in order to get here. And I needed my husband to say something to me.
Yeah.
I needed him to do that because we needed to talk about it. So now it's totally changed our relationship too.
That's
because
amazing.
I said, I am not going back to that.
Yeah.
So you can either stay with me or not. It's your choice. I was going to stay with him anyway.
Right.
But it's your choice. And so what do you choose? And he said, well, let's figure this out. And so here we've been, ambling through.
Yeah.
But now he tells me what he's feeling about things a lot sooner than he used to. And that is big for men, especially.
Yes.
Because a lot of men don't like to share and they want to wait till they're like blowing their top before they say something. Like that's a little too late.
Right. Let's get real. Gaslighting isn't just a buzzword. It's that sick, spiraling feeling in your gut when they say, that's not what I said. You always twist things, or you're too sensitive. I was just joking. Yeah, I can totally relate. I spent 33 years with someone who made me feel like I was the problem every time, no matter what. That's why I wrote, You're Not Crazy, Reclaiming Your Sanity and Self-Worth After Narcissistic Abuse. Because you deserve to trust your gut again. You deserve to trust you. And spoiler alert, you were never the problem. Gaslighting is the main tactic of a narcissist. This book won't fix your ex, but it will help you fix your peace. Just check out the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Don't wait to start your healing.
And so it's changed my relationship now, But those past relationships, I went through so many toads before I got to my prince, a lot.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? So I'm going to share with you something
like
how I found my husband. Do you want to hear this? How
yes,
I found my
husband? Course.
So I had been in, I don't even know, countless abusive relationships. I don't even know the number, but it's from physical abuse to verbal abuse and everything in between, right? So I've been through those relationships. And I said, that's it. I'm done. Like I had 2 babies at the time. They were 2 and 3 years old. And I said, that's it. No more. I'm tired of it. I'm not going to date anymore. I'm going to be a single cat woman,
Yeah.
Single lady with the cats, even though I don't have any cats. And so I found, I don't know how, because this was back in the day, like this was 1987. I can remember when it was, because I met my husband in 88. Somebody told me about this book, and it was called How to Be Married 1 year from today, Lovers Shopping.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll read it, whatever. I'm not dating anymore anyway, so I'll read it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I read the book. I read the entire book. There was this one portion in the book that changed my entire vision of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And it said, make a list of the 10 top things you want in your mate. And anytime you meet somebody, you go through that list of 10. And if they don't fit all 10 of them, they're out.
Wow.
Yeah, that list, I carried it everywhere. And so about 6 months after I read the book, I was carrying my list. I was looking at my list. See, it was like a mini vision board.
Yeah.
It was a list. It was a listicle vision board. And so 6 months later, a friend of mine that I worked with her, she called me up. She said, hey, I've got this guy I want you to meet. And I'm like, it's 9:30 at night on a Tuesday. I got to get to sleep. And she goes, no, you have to meet him now. You have to meet him. I said, okay, what's he like? So she rattled off all these things, and she said, and he's 43 years old. And I said, what'd you say? Now I was 25 and I had two little babies at that time. I think, they were like 3 and 4, right? So they're 3 and 4. And I said, what did you say? She said, he's 43 years old. I said, did you say 33 or 43? He's 43, but trust me, he doesn't look like a 43-year-old. He's not an old man. He doesn't act like, all this stuff. And I said, okay, I trust you. Go ahead, bring him over.
Right.
So they came over at 9:30 at night on a Tuesday evening. And something happened that was like one of those little clues you listen to or don't. You choose.
Right.
They came in, sat down, and my daughter, who was 3, woke up and she came out and she crawled into his lap.
What? That's so crazy.
Not into my lap, not into my friend's lap. Well, no, here, listen, Lynda. Okay, so not into my lap, not into my friend's lap, which she knew them too. Crawled into his lap. And I had heard that kids know when people are genuine and good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, there might be something here,
Yeah.
So we ended up talking for hours. Later that night, he called me up and they were driving. So they were driving back. So the 3 of them were together. They were driving back to my friend's house. And back in those days, there were no answering machines. So when they left, I called and I let it ring and ring and ring and ring and ring until they finally got home.
Oh my God.
It was like maybe 10 minutes, right? So it's just ringing. And so it's funny because he says, we pulled up to Selda. Her name is Selda. We pulled up to Selda's house and I heard the phone ring and I said, that's her. She wants me.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
And it was me. So anyway, that was the introduction. And then he took me and my kids out miniature golfing on our first date. And that was big because my other boyfriends, like, they didn't want anything to do with my kids.
Yeah.
So, but this man was like, yeah, let's go miniature golfing so we can take the kids with us.
That's amazing. So you were around 25 or 26, something like that?
I was 25. Yeah.
Okay. So then you didn't start doing the work or whatever, your big pivotal thing till 51. So what happened like in all that time? Like, how was that affecting your life? I know you said like some of the fear, like you can push through it. I've had all these jobs. You did a lot of things despite it, but how is that affecting you?
A lot, because my mindset was a very negative mindset.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in myself. No matter how many nice things he would say about me or to me, I just didn't believe him. I had all that negativity that was just like bombarding my brain constantly,
Yeah.
talking bad about myself and stuff. So it affected that way, because if kind of like thinking it from that perspective, is here he had these positive beliefs about me, but I couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
And so he'd say to them sometimes things like, why don't you believe me? Why can't you believe what I'm saying? Things like that. And I didn't know why. I didn't understand. I just didn't understand actually why he was even saying anything positive about me.
Right.
And so it affected our relationship in that way, but it was more like affected me more than him. But because I didn't know who I was a people pleaser, like you mentioned kind of earlier, I was a people pleaser. I was a yes person, and always looking at pleasing other people, and sometimes to the detriment of our relationship, because, I was always for this person or that, or my jobs. Like I would work anywhere from, 60 to 70 hours a week sometimes. So I wasn't home much.
Yeah.
So it affected it in an adverse way for sure. But that was more because I didn't know who I was.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there. I got to the point where I said, well, I don't understand how people are happy. Like, how do you do that?
They must be lying.
What did you say?
Mine was like, they must be lying. That's not true.
Yeah. And that's
what my thing was.
Well, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, how do you just go through the world happy? You just wake up and you can be happy? Like, I didn't get that at all. And so I kind of started saying, what I say is I got sick of myself. Because I had that whole thing was everything was negative all the time. Nothing works out for me. Whatever. Everything was terrible. And I remember thinking back, that's how my life was. Everything was terrible and everything was negative, because that's what I thought it was supposed to be. It was sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I do believe if you put out gold, you're going to get gold, so I do believe that. And I just kind of got sick of myself and decided to change and figure out. I really was investigating how are people happy? What does that mean? And how are you allowed to be? And this has always been my word, is allowed. Because I think with my family, or even in my relationships, especially with my ex, who was a narcissist, people who have been in abuse understand the word allowed. You're not allowed to do certain things. You're not allowed, because they're trying to control you. And he would say, like, well, what are your hopes and dreams? And I would tell him, and he'd say, oh, no, you can't do that. That doesn't make sense. You're not good at that. No, people are lying to you that you're good at that. Things like that. So it's like, I had to learn. I had to learn for myself what it was about. When you decided to do the work at 51, was there something that was like a catalyst to start that?
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, again, 36 years. I worked in the corporate world, 49 jobs. My 49th job was working for a judge in the Court of Appeals, which I'm in California. That is the highest court you can work in California. And I worked for the number 2 judge in the entire circuit. So that was a big deal to get there. I worked my way up that ladder in the legal. I was a legal secretary for 20 years. And I worked there for about 13 or 14 months. My vision was that I was going to stick it out at least 3 years, because in that court, in 3 years, you get a pension.
Oh,
which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But I look back, but I couldn't even make it past 13 months. Oh my gosh. It was so hard. I called myself like a glorified travel agent, because the judge that I worked for traveled like 250 days a year to different countries. And I had to do like every single thing in, visas and stuff like this. Oh my
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a big thing. And I didn't want to be a travel agent. That wasn't my thing. Like I had a brain that I want to use for the legal world. So anyway, one day I was driving to work, and as I had been doing for 36 years, driving traffic every single day. And I just had this tremendous amount of anger that coursed through my body. And I was like pounding on my steering wheel. And I was like, I hate my life. Like, I hate everything I'm doing. I hate this job. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I here on this planet? What's my purpose? What is the purpose of the whole planet? Why am I here? And I just started going like through this, like asking these why? I have no value. I have no reason to be here. I have no purpose. Wow. And I truly believed that. And I was like angry, like I was screaming and crying. And when I got to work, I went on Facebook, which we weren't supposed to, but I went on Facebook and I saw a post from a woman. It said, I'm a life coach. I took some time off. I'm getting back into it. And I'm looking for 5 women who want to change their lives.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I have no idea. Right. What is a life coach? I don't know what that means, but I'm in. And so I
but the words 5 women who want to change their life. You're like, change their whatever. Lives. Yeah. Like whatever that means, I'm in.
Yeah. And I had no idea that my raising my hand in that very moment was the catalyst to change my entire life. Everything is different in my life today, except for my husband and my family. But every single thing has shifted for the better. And, I have ups and downs. I have, like we were talking before we went live here, like I'm in a money down right now. Yeah. And so that affects me in certain ways. But the difference is that now I don't let it spiral down like I used to in the past before I knew how to lift myself out. I say that I didn't know I was in the dark until I was in the light. I was in the dark for 51 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now life is, it's got ups and downs, but I see those ups and downs like this is a roller coaster ride. Right now I'm in one of those, I'm getting ready to come back up,
Well, and that's the thing is like when we go down, it's so great when you do the work because you go down, but you don't stay down as long as you were. Yeah. And you have the tools. I did have something that happened a few months ago. I don't even know when it was, but it knocked me down for a few days. And I was talking to my coach and I said, yeah, this really knocked me down for this. I felt like it was too many days. I knew what my trigger was. I knew what I should have done and what I did do. And I know why it triggered me. And she's like, yeah, sometimes that happens. And I was like, oh, because I just thought, well, I have the tools in my tool belt. And so everything is perfect. And it's not. Sometimes you go down and that's okay. It didn't knock me down for 4 days as far as like I could still function in the world, but it was on my mind. And I was like, why is this bothering me for this many days? Yeah. I thought I was better at it, but it's great when I love that roller coaster analogy because you're going to go back up. The roller coaster doesn't end on the down usually.
Right. And sometimes the down's going to be a little bit longer. Sometimes you're going to have to pull into the station and change passengers, but you're going to stay in that, right? Yes. Then you're going to do that little loop-de-loop thing. And sometimes you're going to do it 4 or 5 times instead of just one. Oh
yes, exactly. Yeah. It's so true.
Really is. And I think that's part of the fun in life, especially when after we make it through that piece, like, well, I made it through and everything's fine. Maybe it's not like I want it to be, but it's fine. And then we just keep going and then things shift and it's really an amazing journey that we get to be on, here in this planet. Because you think about what's interesting to me is like human beings, we are the only thing on this entire planet that have we have choice, freedom of choice. We get to make decisions. Animals, it's all based on instinct. That's how they live their lives. It's instinctual. Plants and all that other stuff. I don't know what they're living off of, but but something. But humans, we get to choose.
Are you feeling trapped in a relationship that leaves you questioning your worth and sanity? Have you noticed the red flags and decided you can't live one more day in a toxic environment? Whether you've just left or are considering leaving a narcissistic partner, the book, Married to a Nice Guy, Getting Over Narcissistic Abuse is here to guide and support you. In this candid memoir, I share my 33-year struggle in a marriage to a nice guy that was marked by emotional manipulation and abuse, revealing how I broke free and reclaimed my life. If you've been waiting for a sign, this book is it. If you've ever felt isolated, confused, or hopeless in your relationship, Married to a Nice Guy, Getting Over Narcissistic Abuse offers the understanding and guidance you need to break free and start your journey to healing. You are not alone, and you deserve a life filled with love, respect, and happiness. Order your copy today and take the first step towards reclaiming your life.
And so I remember one day, my husband said something to me that I got so mad at him for, because I still get mad at him and he gets mad at me, Right. But it's a great relationship because we can talk about it.
Yeah.
He said something, and that was, now this with a little bit of context, because I don't want it to sound like really like mean or anything.
Right.
It was mean to me at the time, but because I didn't understand the truth behind it. See,
Yeah.
sometimes what we perceive as mean is because we're not hearing the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had put on quite a bit of weight. I'm still heavier than I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd put on like 60 pounds in about maybe less than 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thin almost my whole entire life. And so it just kept like building, building, building. And he said this to me, and he's, God, I'm thinking about it right now. Okay. No, said, because I was complaining about being fat. Okay. He said,
Yeah.
you must want to be fat. And I was like, how dare you?
Yeah, exactly.
And it dawned on me. It's like, no, I don't want to be fat. But then why are you not doing the things that would not make you fat? Like, it's not like, why aren't you doing the things that would make you skinny? No, it's like, but you're doing things that make people fat. Like,
right.
You're eating too much. You're eating too late. You're not exercising. Your actions don't reflect. See, because these actions are the choices that we're making.
Yeah.
So I might want this, but if I'm not doing this, why am I expecting this? And and it took me about, I don't know, 50 days to get over what he said. It took me a while.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't that long, but it took me a while to admit the truth. And the truth is, it's not that I want to be fat, but I'm not doing the actions to make what my wants turn into reality. And so,
no, but I mean, I think it's true. Like when I'm talking to women about different things, it's like, but you're not doing, I have people who, they're always just complaining about certain things. And I'm like, but you're still, it's insanity. You're doing the same things over and over. And then you think there's going to be a different outcome. And so I can see his delivery may not have been great, but
it's hardly ever great. It's hardly ever great.
But we know he has well intentions, I guess. Well, when you were saying, the thing that happened for me too was at 55, I got divorced. And that to me was like, I had to change my life and say like, is this what I want? And then also learning as I was doing the work, going, who am I? Who's Laura? I thought it was only 33 years because that's how long I'd been with my ex. And I was like, oh no, Laura's never known who she is, but she's been a chameleon. She's been surviving and people pleasing to make everybody happy. And nobody was happy and Laura was miserable. Like everybody was. So yeah, it was a big change, but it's so great that we have these choices to be able to say, I need to do something else. And it's not too late. Like if you're listening to this, it's like, it's not too late. And that's why I work with women in midlife to say like, it's not too late. Like you can change your whole life. People will quote unquote, run out the clock. I'm like, that's a horrible thing to say. Like, what, run out the clock? That's horrible. My gosh, So
I want before we go further, I do want to give a little like accolades toward my husband because he is an amazing guy. And I don't want people to think that he just like spouts stuff like that.
Yes, exactly.
Here's the thing. My husband was the fitness director for the Marine Corps for many years. He's 80 years old. He's 18 years older than me. So do the math. I'm 62. Right. So he's 80 years old. He looks amazing still.
Amazing. Yeah.
Because he works on himself every single day.
I love it.
He knows the commitment it takes to get the result that you want.
Yeah.
And he does it. So it's sad for him to see me not do what I need.
Of course.
He wants me so badly to have what I want.
Yeah.
But he knows I need to do the work. He can't do it for me.
Yes.
And so his heart hurts when my heart hurts.
Oh yeah. And that makes, it makes so much sense. And it's like, it's so great that you can have somebody supporting you like that. Mm-hmm. Whether the delivery was right or not, the heart behind it is like, it's great.
Yeah. So, you know what? I want to, the delivery. Yeah. Okay. So here's another thing I discovered about myself. Because when he said that, that's what clicked, right? First I got mad.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the truth. Yeah. And then I was like, thank you for saying that. I needed that. So what I discovered during the year I was breaking through a fear every day, I found a mentor. His name is Greg Reed. And Greg is like my husband in that way that he says he says like very short sentences that change my life. Wow. And so what I realize is that I need that kind of person in my life that's going to just be straight up front, honest, not worrying about if it's going to hurt my feelings or not, because I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to get mad and I'm going to think about it. And then I'm going to shift.
Yeah.
That's who I am. Remember one day Greg said to me, he said, you think too much. Like it took 4 words for me to be like, oh my God, let me snap out, for me to snap out of it and stop thinking too much, because like all the things I'm doing today, if I spend too much time thinking, I'm not going to have the success I'm having.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I know. Yes, we can talk ourselves out of a lot of things.
Oh,
That's
it's so
for
easy.
sure. So I want to talk about, we're not super close at the end, but we're getting there. So I want you to talk about the breaking through a fear every day and why you decided to do that. And then how it's led you into what you're doing now.
Okay. Yeah. So again, I worked with that life coach. So I worked with her for 5 months. And at the end of the 5 months, which was like November of 2014, so I ended working with her like right around Thanksgiving time. And then in December, I'm by myself. I don't have a life coach. At the end of November, I decided to quit my job, by the way.
Okay.
I'm going to become an entrepreneur. So I decided like, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to become a millionaire in a year, because that's what I heard.
Right. Of course. Yes.
I'm still waiting for that millionaire, but I'm doing the journey, right? It's been over 10 years. And so anyway, December, I'm by myself and I noticed something like my growth had slowed down because I wasn't with my life coach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I was I'm a good student. I did all of my homework every single week, with my life coach, and tremendous growth. People were telling me, you're different this week than you were last week. So I know my growth was fast because I was doing the work. Again, here I was doing the work and I got the results.
Yes, exactly.
Hello, it works. And so at the end of that December, I said, wow, I'm slowing down. Like I'm not having the progress that I was having. January 1st of 2015, I woke up that morning and I had this realization. I have so many fears that are stopping me from living my life. I'm going to break through one fear every day this year. Wow. That was exactly how it happened. And so I decided in that moment, this is what it's going to look like. Every day I'm going to wake up, and the first thing I'm going to do before I get out of bed is I'm going to ask myself one question.
Okay.
And I have to lay in bed until I answer that question. And the question was, what scares me?
Wow.
3 words. That's it.
And whatever came to your mind first that day. Okay.
Was my commitment was to break through that fear that day. Like I couldn't add them up. It's like you got to break through it that day. Yeah. I had no idea what kind of fears were going to come up. I didn't have a list. This was very, very unmethodical. Like this was the whole method. Yeah. And sometimes it was interesting because some days the fear was instant. Like it popped into my head. Like I'd been dreaming about it, waiting for me to wake up and ask the question.
Yeah.
And other days it was 10 or 15 minutes, but I laid there in bed. I didn't get up until I had that answer. And I broke through all those fears, 365 days in a row, different fears. But then I realized about 6 months into it that there was a theme of between these fears. And it was like, what is the common theme here? And it was the fear of judgment. So we talk about people pleaser, right?
Wow.
People pleasers, for the most part, I don't want to generalize and say for everybody, but it's our fear of judgment. If I say no, what will they think of me?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's interesting because then I had this, again, a lot of realizations going on during that year for sure. I was like, well, shoot, if it's just that one fear, I only have one fear to conquer. Wow. The fear of judgment. And I did it that year. So that is the biggest fear, for the majority of people on the planet. The fear of judgment is the number one fear. Yeah. So if I can conquer that one fear, how will my life be different? And so I started looking at it as a fun thing. Like, look at all these fears I get to break through, So I ended up, I don't see it right here. Oh, I wrote this book right here called Do It Because You're Scared. Like,
I love it. Yeah.
Let your fear fuel you forward.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you approach fear that way, your life will change for the better, for sure, because you're no longer letting it hold you hostage, hold you back.
Right.
You're no longer letting it put baby in the corner, So
that's right. What are some ways, or even if it's just one tip or something, but what is something that you tried for that particular fear Yes, you came up with it, but then like, did you have to go looking for the tools to be like, okay, well, how am I conquering this fear today?
Yeah, I did come up with some tools that helped me. One
Yeah.
of them is I call it my 7 simple steps to break through fear every time. And that, so here's the thing. First of all, I want to point out is we hear things like face the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Feel the fear, do it scared. And to me, those are disempowering. Those are not encouraging you to embrace fear as a positive.
Okay.
It's really keeping you in that fear as a negative state. And
Hmm.
that's why I say do it because you're scared. So like,
I
oh,
love
that's
it.
just fear. That's
Yeah.
just fear. I have to do this because I'm scared. Because what I noticed is 99% of the time when I broke through my fears, I was proud of myself. I felt good for doing it. I met
Yeah.
somebody on the other side of that fear that helped me to transform my life. Doors were open that I didn't even know were closed. So I said, if 99% of the time the result is going to be something good, why do we as human beings
Yeah.
allow fear to deprive us of
Wow.
that goodness? See, whether
Amazing.
it's leaving a job, leaving a spouse, changing
Mhm.
careers, doing something different, saying no to somebody, all these different things that we allow ourselves to hold us back. When we
Yeah.
release all that negativity and that fear, then our lives will be better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share the 7 simple steps because they are
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah.
I'm just going to share it a quick way. You
Yeah.
can get the full version, of course, in the book. Do it
Oh, yeah. I was
because
going
you're
to say,
scared.
can you still buy that book? Because we will put it in the show
Yes.
notes. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And you can get a free download of it by going to
Okay.
actiontakerspublishing.com/doit, DOIT. You can get a free download of it, and then you can join the 30-day fear busting challenge.
Oh, I love it.
So,
Yeah. We'll put all that in the show notes for everybody.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I got to create some sort of system here, right? I created
Right.
several, but this was the 7 simple steps became really simple. So I'm going to break it down, but going to do it quickly because
Yeah.
we're short on time.
Yeah.
So the reason it's 7 steps is because our brains, what happens when we're experiencing fear is we kind of are short-sighted and we don't see much like that, what's going on, beyond what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
And it's really it's an emotional thing. So what happens is we're in an emotional state, and the 7 simple steps bring us to a logical state.
Mm.
So the reason for doing these steps in the way I have outlined them is so we go from emotion to logic. And when we have logic, we can look at it from a real situation
Yes.
as to like what will really happen.
I love
Because
it.
fear is fear of what's to come. But what if what's to come is good and you're
Mhm.
letting fear stop you from having that,
Oh my
right?
gosh, that's so
So,
good. Yeah.
yeah, so the 7 simple steps, it's a simple question you ask yourself 7 times. And the
Mm.
question goes like this. Let's use an example of a sales call, because a lot
Okay.
of you listening might have businesses and you're so scared to make those sales calls.
Yeah.
Okay. And so anyway, you say this question: if I make this sales call right now, will it adversely affect my life 1 year from today?
Interesting. Yeah.
And your answer is going to be no.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that would be no, right? A year from today. So then you just do the same thing. You say, if I make this sales call right now, will it adversely affect my life 6 months from today?
Wow.
So there's some keys here. This phrase has to be said exactly in these words.
Hmm.
And you have to say the whole phrase each time. You have to ask the question each time because you need to logically step down
Yes.
to
Yes.
no, it will not adversely affect my
Right.
life. Adversely is a key word. You can't say affect because, yes, it can affect your life in a good way.
Right.
So
Yes.
you must say adversely. Your answers, you want to be no, 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 all the way down. So you
Right.
go from, 1 year, 6 months, you go 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, right now. So I think that's the timeline. But you're
Amazing.
asking it each time. And the reason, again, you want to step down like that because you want to move into no, it's not going to, it's not going to affect me. Oh, it's adversely. And then you're like, okay, well, gosh, if it's not going to adversely affect me
Right.
a week from today, or if it's going to adversely affect me in a week from today, can I make it through the week?
Hmm.
And then you go say, oh, okay, well, I have to go do this because I'm scared because I don't know what's on the other side. That's the fun part.
Yes, exactly. I know some people think that if you have a fear, that means you shouldn't do it. And it's like, no, that's not it at all. Your brain always wants to protect you. Everything is danger to your brain. I mean, even making a phone call. We just have a few minutes left, but I wanted you to talk about what you're doing now. I don't know if you have a quick story of how you got into it, but I would love for you to talk about what you're doing now.
Yeah, I'm now a book publisher and I love this work. I call myself the accidental publisher because I was never interested in reading or writing. They were not my thing at all. But when I was breaking through those fears, like I got like a month and a half into it. And this is when I met Greg Reed, who became my mentor.
Yeah.
And Greg was like, oh, wow, that's cool. You're breaking through a fear every day. We're working on a collaboration book. It's called Footsteps of the Fearless. Everybody just writes one chapter. And we have a ghostwriter who will write your chapter for you. You don't even have to write it. And I was like, oh, good. I'm not a writer. So this is perfect. So I jumped into that book. And then at the end of that year, my mentor, being a good mentor, says, hey, that's cool. You broke through a fear every day this year. That's awesome. Your life has changed. But what are you going to do about it? And I was like, well, what do you mean? You need to write a book because people need to read your story. And I was like, I'm not a writer. I can't do that. And he goes, just write the book. Just get it out there. Called The Year of Fears. It took me over a year and a half to write it. I ended up meeting a book coach who taught me a framework that I teach our clients now in order to start it and finish it. And I published that book. And then I said, I was in a book. I have my own book. What's my next natural state of progression? I'm going to follow in my mentor's footsteps and I'm going to write a collaboration book. I'm going to bring people together to share their story.
Yeah.
So I came up with the title 13. It's called Momentum, 13 lessons from action takers who changed the world. And I reached to some people that I met from my mentor, the founder of UGG Boots, the inventor of the credit card magnetic strip, and the creator of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I met them all through my mentor.
Amazing.
And I was like, I'm thinking of writing a book. Will you guys be in it? And they all said yes.
Wow.
And I was like, oh crap, now I have to do it because now I was committed to them.
Yes.
You know,
Uh-oh.
Making a commitment to myself doesn't work as well as me making a commitment to others. So that was the start of it. Just bring those people together. I made the commitment to them, which turned into being a commitment to myself as well. And then after that book came out, it hit #1 international bestseller in 8 hours. And I was like, oh my God, that was so much fun. Let's do it again.
Wow.
So I did it again with 2 more books. They both hit #1 international bestseller in under 5 hours. So I was like, I'm getting better at this.
Right.
And that day that those 2 books hit that #1, I was like, okay, I've been running a women's mastermind for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
But I made a decision. See, here's the thing. I think it's important for us. When you make a decision, like you incise something, you cut, right? Mm-hmm. And so my decision was to become a book publisher. In that moment, I said, I am a book publisher.
Yes.
And I called all my clients in my mastermind and I said, Monday's our last day. I'm now a book publisher.
Oh my gosh.
And I stopped the mastermind just like that because I knew that I needed to sever in order to move forward.
Yeah.
And that was doing what was best for me, because when I show up as what's best for me, I show up what's best for everybody. And so anyway, I became a book publisher and now we've published, I think we're on number 60, #1 international bestselling book that we just launched this previous week. So we're going and now I'm publishing celebrities books as well. So
wow,
it's been a journey. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. That's so exciting. What a change. It's been, wow, what a ride, right? What a ride. That's amazing, Lynda. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Thank you.
And
thanks for having me. That's where I'm at.
That's right. Exactly. That's why I named it that. And so if you guys are listening and, please connect with Lynda. We'll have all her information in the show notes. And I'm in a collaborative book with Lynda right now. We're finishing it up. And so, so she's the real deal. And I'm excited to have the book come out and all that stuff. I always send people to you. I don't know if they follow up, but I always try and send people your way. So, but if you guys will reach out to Lynda and check out everything about her, we'll have all her information in the show notes. Thank you so much, Lynda, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me and giving me an opportunity to share my story. I always hope that whenever I share that there's one person listening who hears it and says, I can do that. So go out there, do it because you're scared.
I love it. I love that so much. Thank you for joining me today on the That's Where I'm At podcast. Did the story today resonate with you? Do you think others would benefit from hearing the stories we are telling? Please go to Apple or Spotify right now to leave a review so everyone in podcast land will know you love the show. We want to continue sharing stories of hope and healing. I'll be back next time. I'll talk to you then.